Alright, so I begin this effect by presenting 2 decks of cards. I would say this deck of cards right here is actually a prediction deck of cards. That means that I have a prediction inside this deck of cards. We'll leave that off to the side. We'll get to that prediction in a little bit here, but we're just going to begin by using this one. So we begin by taking this one out of its box, and I would say, and I would tell my spectator, I'd hand it to my spectator and say, alright, go ahead, shuffle these cards up to your heart's content. It doesn't matter. You know, just give the cards some shuffles, and they'd give the cards shuffles, and then I'd say, and now even give the cards cuts if you like. And after they're done shuffling and cutting the deck of cards as much as they would like, I would tell them to take the cards behind their back, okay, and they would do so. They would take the cards behind their back, and of course, I would beforehand have gone through the cards and taken out 2 helper cards to demonstrate to them what they're going to do, for instance, the 2 jokers. But since there's no spectator here, I'm just going to do it. So anyway, they take the cards behind their back, and I tell them to go ahead, take 1 card out from the middle, move it, turn it face up, and put it on top of the deck, okay? And I would tell them, now take the cards and give them 1 complete cut. They do that, and then I have them take the cards back around, and I would say, all right, so again, you could have selected literally any card, okay? You could have selected any one of these. It doesn't matter really what card you selected, although it kind of does. You'll see why in a second. Anyway, let's just take a look at what card you selected. So in this case, let's see, you have in this case we have the Jack of Spades. So yeah, so the Jack of Spades is the card that you selected this kind. Again, you could have really selected any one of these cards, okay, because again, you took the cards behind your back, you went through the cards one by one, you took 1 card out, turned it face up, behind your back, gave it a cut, and then brought it back around, okay? And again, you know, any one of these cards could have been selected. You chose the Jack of Spades. That's pretty, it might not seem like that big of a deal to you right now, but the reason I'm building it up as a big deal is because in this deck of cards, I actually turned 1 card over before the trick began, and it is in fact also the Jack of Spades, which is also pretty cool. But here's the deal. That's not even the reason why it matters so much. The real reason why it matters so much is that the card in the prediction deck is actually from the blue deck of cards, which means that the card in the blue deck of cards is actually from the black one. And welcome back to the channel. My name is Josiah, and today I'm going to be teaching you a trick that I call Lucky Backflip 2.0. The reason why is because this is a trick I used to do a whole bunch. I've gotten a lot of insane reactions with this trick. And essentially the original way the Lucky Backflip trick was done, it was essentially the same trick. It looked pretty much the same as the way this one is done. However, what I've done with the 2.0 version is I've made the setup for the trick a little less complicated and much more impromptu, to the point where you can pretty much kind of do it in front of your spectator, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the video for you, those of you who are a little bit more advanced. But before I continue, about the Summer Stack series, I decided the Summer Stack series, last episode you saw is going to be the last episode for now. Anytime I do any more tricks that involve anything where there's a stack in the deck, which this is a setup trick, but it doesn't have a stack, it's just 1 card setup, then I'll be making it a Summer Stack episode. But the series itself, doing the weekly or bi-weekly uploads of Summer Stack series episodes, we're not doing that anymore. Sorry, I just felt like, you know, I've taught you some tricks. I've taught you pretty much what I wanted you to know for the continuous version of the series, but the series will still continue whenever I do, you know, what I just said. So anyway, I don't want to leave you waiting for too long. Just a little bit of background on it before we begin. I learned this originally, I watched it as a performance video. It was uploaded way back, I think in like 2011 or something, by 52 Cards, which is one of probably my favorite Magic YouTube channel, aside from mine obviously, out there on YouTube. And then I learned it from Miss Mag 822, at least the version of it that was performed. And it looks pretty much the same as this version. The only difference is in the actual method. Okay, the actual method is a little bit different and a little bit better. So anyway, yeah, let's just get right into it. Alright, here we go with the tutorial. So for this trick, you're going to be using 2 decks of cards, okay? In this case, I'm using the blue light side Star Wars playing cards. I used these in a video past before, and these are the silver edition dark side Star Wars playing cards. So anyway, what you're going to need, the important thing to know, you can use any 2 decks of cards so long as they have the same or similar faces, because if the faces don't match, for instance, if I used a bicycle deck of cards and a 311 Star Wars deck of cards, if the faces don't match, you'll see why with the method, it just won't work out. So anyway, basically here's what you're going to do. So before the trick begins, there's a little bit of a setup you need to do, and I'll be showing you the version that doesn't use a setup at the end. But you're going to need the 2 decks, and you're going to take out any card you want. In this case, I used the Jack of Spades. And here's what your setup's going to be. You're going to choose one deck to be the prediction deck and one deck to be the deck that you use in the trick. For this particular instance, I used the dark side cards as my prediction deck. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the Jack of Spades, or whatever card you've chosen, from your spectator use deck, the deck that your spectator's using, in this case the blue Star Wars. You're going to take the Jack of Spades with the blue back, and you're going to stick it somewhere in the middle of the prediction deck face up, okay? And as you'll notice, this is why the faces have to be similar, because, or in this case, the same. As you can see, they're the exact same face. Because secretly, the card they've selected is going to be the card with the opposite back from the other deck from the beginning. You'll see. So again, you just take that, put it in the middle, and then you're going to put that in its box. And then you're going to take the Jack of Spades from the prediction deck, and you're going to put it near the bottom of the spectator's deck. So I'm just going to refer to it as the light side deck. So what I do, you're going to count 3 cards, or you can use really any number. In this case, I just used 3. So you're going to take 3 cards, and then you're going to put, of course, this is with the deck face up, and then you're going to put their card right here, face down, like this, and you put it right there. Okay, the reason for this is so that you can spread most of the cards and show blue backs, but in case, you know, when the spectator's grabbing it, you don't accidentally flash the bottom card. Of course, the trick would still work if this card was on the bottom, but you might accidentally flash it. Like, for instance, in the gesturing, you might accidentally flash that. So just to make sure it's not flashed, putting it 4th from the bottom, like that, would work out. Okay, and you want to make sure it's face up, or reversed, essentially. Okay, so that's the setup. You put that in the box, and you're good to go. So, at the beginning of the trick, what you're going to do, you're going to present the deck of cards, you're going to set your prediction, you're going to say this is the prediction one, you're going to set it aside. Then you take out the cards that the spectator's going to use from their box, you hand them to your spectator, and they can shuffle them. Now, you can do a deck switch, like I taught in the Summer Stack series episode, sorry. Card mat's moving on me. Or what I actually do is I use something called a gambler's cup. Okay, now essentially what this means is from the back, I'm going to use my thumb to riffle off just a couple cards from the back. It doesn't really matter how many, just a few. I'm going to shift them back in my hand. I'm going to hold them basically in this position right here, where basically I'm clenching them between this part of my hand and these fingers. Okay, and I'm going to hold that. Angle it slightly so that from the spectator's point of view, they see this. They don't see the cards actually inside there. And for me personally, I also use the edge of the table or the card mat to kind of hide it like this, okay? So it's hidden in my hand right here. And don't be worried about this, but I'm going to hide it. I kind of hide it in my hand here. I hand this to my spectator, and they shuffle it to their heart's content. They can really shuffle it however they'd like, because since I got Gambler's Cup cards on the bottom, it's a palm, which means that I have their card right here, right there. Doesn't matter. I could have, you know, more than this or not. I just need to riffle off enough that I know I at least have this little 4-card stack at the bottom retained. So then when they hand me it back, I'm going to shift it back into my hand, grab the cards, and come forward. That way I can just kind of And that's basically just how I load it back on the bottom. Now, there's a really great tutorial by Kevin Booth on the Gambler's Cop. I'll leave a comment, not a comment, I'll leave a link in the description box if you want to check out more information on the Gambler's Cop. I'll probably make a video about it eventually, but for now, check that one out. And so what this does is it allows our spectator to think they've thoroughly shuffled the cards when in fact we can still have this retained. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the deck face up because I have to have a justification for doing this. I have to have a justification for taking it back. Because if I take it back and then hand it to my spectator, well, that's kind of, I mean, why would anyone do that? So I need a justification for doing this. So what I do is I turn the deck face up and I do a block push spread. Sorry, I had a brain fart. Essentially what that is it's just when I use my thumb. Normally when you spread the cards, you do this, but you don't want to flash this. So what I do is rather than pushing over like a few cards, I push over a chunk of cards with my thumb, which allows me to hide that, the reversed card, the card I'm going to be forcing on my spectator while spreading the deck. And then when I spread this, I'm just going to take out a pair of cards. Normally I like to take out the jokers. However, sometimes the joker might be in my block push. If that happens, I'll just choose a different pair of cards. In this case, but normally I'll just take out the two jokers. I take those out, I turn this over, I hand it to my spectator. Now, the reason I'm taking out these two cards is to give justification for having to take the spectator's card back, but also I find that oftentimes if I just give the instructions to the spectator, there's always a chance they'll mess them up. So I'd like to give clarification so they know what they're going to do, and I do that by demonstrating with two cards. So then they take the cards behind their back, and I tell them, you're going to take one card out from the middle, turn it face up, and all I've done here is I've just taken the bottom card of these two cards, turn them face up. So they do that. They take a random card out. It doesn't matter what card they take out from the middle and turn face up. It just has to turn face up. Then I say, and of course this is behind their back, and the reason they go behind their back is so that they don't get to see the card. Then I say, and now give the cards a complete cut. And of course all I'm doing is I'm just grabbing the bottom card, taking it, moving it to the top. And by doing it this way, I suggest this is somewhat how they're going to do it, because some people just to make sure they know that this is kind of how they're supposed to do it. Okay, so of course behind their back, they're taking the cards. Now of course, they're going to take the cards and cut them behind their back. That's probably somewhat what it would look like behind their back. And then I'm going to have them bring that back around. So at this point, I just kind of take the cards, I drop them back. Okay, and one important thing to note about behind the back tricks is that I'm always a little bit wary of these types of tricks, because spectators sometimes sometimes it's kind of hard for spectators to comprehend instructions properly behind their back. It's really, sometimes spectators have a hard time doing this. I really like this trick because the behind the back instructions aren't too difficult. They're not asking the spectator like shuffle, now count cards, and all this stuff. It's just asking them, take a card out from the middle, turn it face up, cut the deck. Very simple thing to do, and very simple thing to do behind the back. So, anyway, the cards have been brought back around. Now I'm going to spread the cards. Now it's important that you don't just spread like this, because you actually have two face-up cards. You have the card that you reversed before the trick began, which is the card you're going to force, and you have the card that they actually turned over. Okay, so you can spread a couple cards at the beginning, but then you want to spread kind of one by one until you reach that Jack of Spades, which of course you know it's going to be, but you want to reach it and pretend like it's a surprise. You see, okay, the Jack of Spades in this case. So in this case, so what I do is I out jog it like this, and then I hold this chunk of cards here, and then I do another block push spread with the left hand little packet here. Okay, so rather than spreading like this, I do another block push spread, which that's kind of a main thing, to spread it here. Okay, then I square it up. So what I do then is I use this out jogged card to separate this top half from this bottom half, because it's important that I know. Now, what you actually will know is, because of the setup, okay, if you set it up like I set it up, the card the spectator turned over will now be face up, 4 cards down from this Jack of Spades, okay? So you have 3 face down cards after the Jack of Spades and then their card. So you block push spread, then you come back, you separate the two halves where you're separating all the cards from beneath the Jack of Spades, or whatever the card they chose, you forced on them, into the left hand. You take all the right hand cards and you set the Jack of Spades down right here, and when you bring them back, you're going to actually cut the deck. I've talked about doing this before. You're just going to casually set the left hand packet on top. It doesn't matter. Don't make a big deal about it. Just do it casually. So now, if you followed the instructions properly, you should now have the spectator, you should now have 3 face down cards and then the face up card. Okay, so you have the 3 face down cards and then the face up selection again. Okay, so you have this set down here. So now this is where it's kind of interesting, because you're just going to do a brief demonstration of what they did. People never suspect this. This is just something that people forget. The recap is what allows you to do this. So you physically recap and you say, okay, so you took the cards behind your back, and you actually take the cards behind your back. And you explain to them, you know, you went through the cards, you took one card out, turned it face up on the top and cut. You can agree that was super fair, okay? And you do that kind of thing. But all the while, what you're actually going to do behind your back, you're going to use your thumb, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, and this is behind your back, you're counting 1, 2, 3 cards. You take the card, the next card, you take it out and you turn it face up on top, and then you bring this packet back around, okay? And sometimes when I bring it back around, I kind of like to just begin a cut behind my back, and as I bring it back around, I just finish the cut, okay? I kind of, well, what I mean by that is that I just kind of bring my hands back around, I just kind of cut the cards here as I'm explaining. So the way that would work in choreography, again, you would have that card right there. You go behind your back, you'd say, okay, so this is behind your back. So let's pretend like this is behind your back right here. Excuse me, you're going, okay, so you could have, so you took one card out from the middle, you turned it, you took it out, you turned it face up on top, and then I'm bringing it back around and I say, and then you gave the cards a complete cut, okay, and you agree that was super fair, right? And you could have chosen any card, but you chose the Jack of Spades. Now, I like to do a ribbon spread, which I taught on the channel. I'll leave a link in the description to that video, but I do a ribbon spread here. It's important. Sometimes I'm one of those people that likes to kind of flip it around like this. You can't do that because you'll flash this back. You want to just show it. You want to kind of flick it if you want, and then kind of set it on top of the spread like this, okay? Now, what you're going to do from here is you're going to take the prediction deck out very fairly, set the boxes aside and whatnot, and then you're going to spread through it in the hands, okay? Which again, I'll actually leave a link also to the in the hand spread tutorial down below. But you spread through it in your hands. You take this card out, you set it here, and then you do a ribbon spread. Okay, the reason for this is because I want in order to get you want a very neat ribbon spread at the end, just have that clean image at the end. So I learned that it's cool to spread here, take it out, but then you have this messy spread, so you have to close it up and then respread it. It's kind of just an awkward moment. So just to eliminate that awkwardness, I prefer to do it in the hands, take the card out, do a spread, and then set this card here, okay? And I say, and this is already a cool moment. Like, this is a really cool trick already. But now you get this final kicker ending where you show the spectator the card in the prediction deck was actually the blue card. This image, people just can't believe. Like, you can see people's jaws just drop when you get this moment here where and just milk this moment, obviously, where you get this moment where they see it's blue backed. You're saying that means that this card, and sometimes people just grab it automatically, but and you turn it over and they see, I mean, this image is so powerful. They see this image right here is just so powerful, okay? So crazy. And at this point, you can lean back because there's nothing to hide. You've done your cleanup, and now people can grab these cards, they can examine the deck, they can examine the boxes, they can examine everything because it's a super, super duper fair trick. Alright, I told you I was going to teach you the impromptu version at the end. Upon getting to the actual teaching of it, I realized that it's actually really not my trick to teach. I might teach it eventually, but it's not exactly available in the public domain. So I don't really think it wouldn't be fair of me to teach it. So I'm sorry for those who were expecting an impromptu version. This is pretty impromptu though. It's a pretty cool trick, and trust me, the little setup that it takes doesn't take that long, and the reactions are worth it completely. So yeah, let's just head to the outro. Alright, and that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. Yeah, again, if you liked it, like the video, that kind of stuff. I really don't have much to say about this. Sorry for those of you who were kind of hoping that I would teach the impromptu version in this video. I ended up not doing it because it really isn't my trick to teach. It really wouldn't be fair of me to do it. But this version that I taught you anyway is pretty cool, and I've gotten priceless reactions with it. I hope you do too, and can't wait to see you in my next video.